Welcome back everyone. Today we're looking at the part 3 of the router table build. We've got to get some dust collection happening on here. The fence has a dust hose, which I've got on a 4-inch adapter, but we need to have somewhere underneath to suck down because we've got these awesome inserts that have holes in them for the air to get pulled down, so we remove some of this vast amount of dust on the surface. We're going to put all of that down and out of this. So let's get to it. This is going to be my long side going back, so I have enough room to have the dust collection port behind the spindle. The spindle is actually going to stick out of the bottom of this dust collection box so it can draw clean air through. This is the, say, left side. This will be the front or back. And we've got these bits of pine, very cheap pine, which we're using to support the corners. I'm just going to mark out where these are going to land so that I can put drill holes in. And the same on the other side. I'm going to have on the bottom some similar sized rails which will have a slot in them, and that's going to allow me to have a floating piece in the base which will allow the spindle to wriggle around if I need to manipulate where it is perfectly. So I don't need to be as precise putting that hole in as I otherwise would, because that piece will float around. Okay, so next thing we need to do is get our rails for the bottom done. I'm going to make them out of European beech, which are beautiful hardwood, and that's going to really let us get a good sliding motion without wearing out like your constructional pine will. So we're going to cut these to the same dimensions as the other rails. So these will go on the bottom. We'll put a slot in with the router table, and we'll have a nice little set of runners. Be careful, use gloves. I was originally thinking I was going to need to use a 5mm bit, was my closest to my 6mm plywood, and that I'd have to do a couple of passes with that, but I've just realized I have a Kyocera, well, a lot of Kyocera 1/4-inch 2 flutes for the CNC router, so I can use one of those instead, which is going to save me a bit of work. Now that the rails are done for sliding the base in, we've got our 2 end pieces, and one is now shorter than the other, so when the rail is mounted in there, we can slide the wood out of the front if we need to, accessing the bottom. We now have the box pretty much built. Because of the offcuts of plywood I have left being not long enough to cover this whole length, I've decided I'm going to fix the dust collector in place. So the dust collection port's going to stay here, and then I'll have a sliding bit which the router spindle can sit on. I've got a couple of 12mm bits of plywood inside here for this to screw through to, and the lip here has another 6mm piece. So there's 12mm of plywood on each section for this to be secured to. Now, while it's not really necessary to glue this in place because it is plastic, it's more for a bit of a dust seal that I'm going to add this, because I don't have any silicone for sealing it. Okay, well, we've got the dust poured on now, so we just need to make a piece which goes in here, which will have the hole in the middle for the spindle. All right, I've taped the insert in to see if we can flip this up without losing the insert, but I don't know how successful that will be. Let's give that a shot. Well, that worked better than I expected. You see underneath here is why we need a dust boot. We've barely used this and it's already completely covered. Okay, there's a dust collection box on. Now we need to hook up the fence and hook up the dust collector and see how it works. Okay, I've got this block of beech and we're going to just take a little bit of a slice off one side on the bottom, put a little bit of rebate in there and see how much dust we end up with on this top surface. Previously when doing this, we would have ended up with dust everywhere. Let's turn the dust collector. Start the spindle up. Well, that was certainly a fairly aggressive cut, and looks like I need to adjust this insert height again after all that movement. It's not quite sitting right, so we've got a few chips back here which I had to clear before each cut from the last bit, but I think that's a pretty good success. There's really not a lot of dust on this table at all, so definitely a win. If you enjoyed seeing that get built and you'd like to see more workshop videos, please hit subscribe and click the bell for notifications. Thank you very much. Feel free to share. Have a great day.